Alrighty. My name is Abigail Lewis. You may have seen me at some of these presentations before, typically in the evening. I typically help coordinate them. I'm a wellness coordinator out of TriHealth. So my full-time job is to help run and manage well-being programs for multiple different companies for their employees. Before that, though, I was a health coach. This is a topic, exercise in a time crunch, that I'm very passionate about, as my job is just all about helping people be their healthiest selves. Yeah.
TriHealth have health coaches?
I was not with TriHealth when I was a health coach, but we do. I know we specifically do out of corporate health, so employers will provide it for their employees. I'm not sure clinically for someone to go into a health coach what that would look like, but I can always find out more if you're interested. Yeah, I'll see what I can find out. But yeah, so before that, I was a health coach, like I said. So when it comes to exercising in a time crunch, I'm not going to get into the mechanics and the science behind building the best workout regimen. This is really about the mindset, the logistics of actually getting yourself into a workout setting to get your body moving and what that looks like. And I think when we hear exercise regimen, we think big. Another part of my job is I do biometric screenings with people a lot. I'm looking at their blood work and we're looking at their habits. And I often say, you look pretty active based off your blood work. Are you active? And people will typically say no, even though the more I talk to them, I realize they get a lot of steps in, or they're playing with their grandkids all the time. I think we downplay a lot of our physical activity because it might not be in a gym setting, or it might not be for the length that we want it to. But there's a lot of different ways to be active, and that's kind of what I want to talk about today, and how to do that and add that more into your everyday life. So things we're going to go over, just exercise 101. We're going to cover the basics. If you're starting from scratch with what it would look like to build an exercise routine, what would that be? Guiding principles to help you be successful. Tips to fit that into your schedule because we are all so very busy. I feel like especially this time of year. We're going to talk about HIIT workouts, which is high intensity interval training. It's kind of a way to get a lot of bang for your buck in a short amount of time. And then we're going to talk about different tools you can use to be successful when you leave here if you do want to build more of a workout regimen. Stop me at any time as you have questions, but starting off with exercise 101, just kind of some three main core groups right here. Starting with cardiovascular, cardio. We picture this when you're running on a treadmill, when you're biking, anything that's going to get your blood pumping harder and faster. The reason that's important is because it increases your heart rate and how much oxygen your body uses. And all of this helps reduce your risk of heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. Cardio, though, we typically split into two different categories. There's high intensity intervals, and then there's low intensity, long duration cardio.
So how long do you need to have a session to get your heart rate up that makes it effective? Is that like 30 minutes of cardio? 30 minutes? Is it an hour?
That's a great question. So typically it's recommended to get about 30 minutes throughout your day. Talking about specific impact right away, I think you can break that 30 minutes up. I wouldn't do like 31-minute sessions throughout the day, but if you did a 15-minute session and another 15-minute session, that's an option. It's more about out of your day, how much movement are you getting instead of a specific time frame in the moment, if that makes sense. It can all add up at the end of your day as well. Yeah?
I'm sorry for coming in late, but can we get a copy of these slides?
The slides? That's a great question. How did you sign up for this presentation?
Through the club.
Through the club? I will get in touch with my contact at the club, and we can send it to sign up participants that way. And then if you signed up on this, did anybody sign up on the Sign Up Genius outside of the club? Okay, then I will get in contact and we'll send it out that way.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And then there's resistance training. So that's when we think of lifting. So when it comes to this, lifting training can help with things like fall prevention, bone density, and mental clarity, and just our overall health and performance. Another presentation we've done in the past here at the sports club is on menopause, and it's fascinating. The physician who does that spends a majority of the time talking about the importance of weightlifting. It's just really important for our bone density overall. And I know she's a big advocate. A lot of other physicians we've had before, whether it's pelvic floor physical therapy, whatever it looks like, they also bring up resistance a lot. So it's just a hot topic I hear at a lot of these presentations. And then finally, stretching. And this is going to elongate our muscles to the point of tension, which is going to help with our balance, our flexibility. This is important overall with injury prevention. I think we think of doing this before we exercise, which is important, but then afterwards, if we've kind of strained our muscles, we want to make sure that we're not then adding tension later on or more issues down the line. Alrighty. Okay, so some guiding principles when it comes to, you all took the step of being here today, and when we're talking to ourselves of building an exercise regimen and what does that look like, these are just some important things to think about. Number one, you deserve that time in your day. I think we do so much for other people. If someone asked a favor of us, we would say yes pretty quickly to a lot of people, but we don't do that to ourselves. But just like we take time for our loved ones, we also want to take time for ourselves. It's a way we can fill our own cup. Recently, I've been reflecting a lot too on how much movement is a form of rest. It can recharge by getting your blood flowing. It can help revive you in a way. So it just helps you kind of give more. So if you're someone who's prone to always helping others, not taking time for yourself, you deserve to also take that time for yourself. It helps you help others as well. And then exercise is one of the highest forms of self-care. I think when it comes to long days or stress, when we think of self-care, oftentimes what we want to do is, you know what, I really deserve to sit on the couch a little bit longer today. Or, you know what, I'm really going to get that sweet treat. I've been really stressed. And there is merit to that. I'm not saying that that's not a good thing. We should be doing that from time to time. I feel like we don't often think, though, you know what, I've been really stressed today. I'm really tired. I'm going to go get into the gym. I just don't think that's naturally how we're wired to think. But it weirdly does have a lot of positive effects if you can break past that typical mental barrier. It really does help with self-care. My husband's really wired this way. He was really tired, and as a result, I was seeing him eat a lot more sugar than he usually does, and he was like, I need to stop because I'm just going to keep feeling bad. I'm going to keep doing this. I need to actually go move my body or do something else and get into a more positive cycle. So be mindful of cycles as well. And then something is better than nothing. This is one that's really important. Like I said, when I talk to people about their blood work and I see those results, I think that some people think they're not that active because they're not in the gym setting or they're not doing something so intense. But walking, anyone who knows me personally, I am the biggest advocate of steps. If you can get steps in, I think it really does play a big role. I see it with people's HDL and their blood work, which I won't get into, but there are so many positive effects of that. That's one way. Even if it is cardio, like a short burst for 5 minutes, if you did that one day, that's better than not doing anything that day. And if you have that mindset over time, it will compound.
So like in walking you have bad joints, like
Mm-hmm.
water walking,
Mm-hmm.
and so is that, as far as building bone and things like that, that probably doesn't help as much, right? But it does help.
The water would add an added element that maybe walking wouldn't, because there is a little bit more resistance from the water. I mean, it's nice on your muscles and your joints, but I think it would be pretty similar to walking. My advocacy for walking is more the convenience, but definitely the toll on your body, whatever convenient. I do think that water walking is just as effective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. The reason I advocate for steps really is because you could, like right now, if we were all sitting here doing nothing, I could pace this room, and it's something where I can do it wherever. But that's where we have to be mindful too of limitations. Water is great as well. It's a really good option. But something is better than nothing too. So I think specifically, let's talk about a pool. You might think to yourself, I only have 30 minutes. Like, that's going to be a big hoopla to get into a pool and get out of it, and what does that look like? But if you can get to the end of your day and say, I spent 10 minutes in the pool today, that's better than not having spent any time in the pool at all. So it's just kind of changing our mindsets around that. I don't know if anyone else feels this, but I know for me personally, exercise at times can just feel so all or nothing when it doesn't have to be, because every little bit can count. The final thing is change things up. As we're getting new into exercise, some people exercise a lot because they love to exercise. Not everybody is blessed to love exercise. You see people who work in gym settings, they're probably passionate about it. That's a blessing. Not all of us feel that way. So sometimes we have to wire our brains to enjoy it a little bit more. And like I said, some movement's better than no movement. So if you're getting sick of a specific workout regimen, change it up. Find something that's a little bit more fun. Do a different class. Just stay moving. That's really, as long as you're doing that, that's what's important. If you want to stay on the same route, that's where it really takes that added level of discipline of saying, I'm going to do this anyway, even if my emotions are telling me I'm too tired, I don't feel like it, I'm going to do it anyway. But changing things up just helps because it guides us with that emotion of kind of having fun, seeking some excitement, and because our brains can be wired some ways to seek that, it just helps to change things up at times as well.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Seeing that human head there reminds me of a question I meant to ask you on the preceding slide.
Please.
I don't know what it was, but it was the third, the resistance training, I guess. You said that helped to improve your brain.
Mental clarity. I don't have the full. It's been a while since I pulled the article from this, but yeah, studies do show that it helps with our mental clarity as well. There's so many benefits to weightlifting. It helps with mental health. There's so many studies, clarity, but then just also mental health, which is a hard motivator because you're working out for the absence of something. It's not like you're working out to gain muscle or to lose weight. For me, I know exercise just makes me feel better, but you go into the gym and you're like, okay, if I leave, it's not that I'm feeling better, I'm just not feeling bad, if that makes sense. It just helps with the brain, not having brain fog, which is a little bit harder of a motivator, but it does help. Tips to help fit it all in, because this is really the main point for what we're talking about today. Regardless of what you do for movement, really the heart behind why we're talking about this is just how to get it in when you are in a time crunch. Number one, marking it in your calendar, intentionally taking that time to show it to yourself. If you're someone who has a planner or you use a calendar online, if you're referencing a schedule daily, put it somewhere where you'll remember it. I've had things that for my health and wellness where I'm like, tomorrow I want to eat healthier. And then it's 12 o'clock, I'm like, I forgot that I was going to try to get more fruits and veggies in. So just putting it where you see it can be really helpful as well. Letting others know about your plan. For one, they can support you. If you have a good support system, someone who's going to cheer you on, ask you about it, I think that can be really motivating. And then on the flip side, I also think for me, I know it can be embarrassing if I say I'm going to do something and someone asks and it's cricket. So it just holds you accountable in a way as well. This is a big one. If needed, pack your bags the night before. I feel like that the small logistics into getting to a gym or to going on a walk, or even if it's you're doing a workout in front of the TV and you want to put a few hand weights right there so you see them, so there's just no resistance in the morning. If you're doing it in the morning, if you're doing it after work, or whatever it looks like, least resistance possible. How can you make it easiest on yourself? And packing a bag the night before is one way to do it. Planning your meals and snacks. This one gets really technical. It just depends on your overall routine. But kind of taking the food element out can help a lot with exercise. I work a pretty typical 9 to 5. I walk on my lunch break, which means I have to be kind of intentional about when I'm going to fit eating in throughout the day because I'm not eating and walking. Just different things like that. Also, if you're going to be exerting yourself a little bit more, you might be a little bit hungrier. So you also that's where the snacks come in as well, making sure you're well fueled for that. Getting enough sleep is another big one. For one, your body does a lot of recovery while you're sleeping. It helps if you do experience muscle soreness or something like that. Your body needs that sleep. But it also just gives you that energy to feel more motivated to do it. We're talking about least resistance. One of the biggest things we can kind of talk ourselves out for is I'm too tired, I need to rest. And so getting sleep can help us with that sometimes as well. I know sleep can be hard, but just trying to get more, prioritizing that will lead into a lot of your other habits as well. And then don't get too specific. This is one of my favorite tips I've ever learned, and it's more setting the goal, I am going to go on a 30-minute walk tomorrow, is very specific. Telling myself I'm going to try to get more steps in tomorrow is a lot more broad. And I know that's opposite of what we hear sometimes if you've heard of SMART goals or things like that, but I know for me, if I get a specific goal and I don't do it, that's where it's that all or nothing of, well, I didn't do it, so that's that. But if you keep it broad, it allows you to kind of squeeze it in however that looks like. And since we're talking about exercising in a time crunch, if the goal is big, I just want to get some sort of movement tomorrow that I don't typically get, there's a lot of ways you can do that. So you can't measure, it's not that you can't measure success, but you can't measure failure. So you don't feel discouraged and you want to keep going. Continuing with that, like I said, I like to start with steps just because it is one, if your body allows you, you can do wherever or whatever that looks like. Stretching is also a great one you can do wherever, depending. Like arm stretches are a really good one. My go-to for my back that I do all the time in public is I like to put my hands over my shoulders like this, arch and just turn from side to side. It feels wonderful. My back is the thing I'm always trying to stretch the most, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. I'm not drawing a lot of attention to myself. Some of those stretches you might want to be in a little bit more of a private setting, but stretching's a good one to do as well. Wellness walks at work, or just wellness walks in general. I think reminding your brain that you have the option to be active. I think sometimes we're so wired, we walk into a room and we immediately sit down, and reminding yourself, even if it's not walking, try standing for a little bit more. Or if you've got some time to kill, walking in a parking lot is a great use of time. And maybe not in this heat, but when it does cool down, that's also an option for you. I just think looking for the opportunities, they're there. So that's another one. Where is an opportunity? That's where we have a lot of downtime sometimes, and we don't think to fill it with walking and stretching. But that's where exercising in a time crunch is important, because you're trying to train your brain to look for, when do I have that time crunch? Half the battle is identifying, okay, this is a pocket of time that I could fill with something more active. Exercise while watching TV. They make foot pedals you can get while you sit on the couch. Those are great. You could do that if you wanted to. Walking pads are on the rise if you are someone who wants to get your steps in. An ab workout, some sort of calisthenics or body weight movement you could do as well if you have weights. I like the spirit behind exercise while watching TV, because even if that's not what you're doing specifically, it's just kind of thinking, I know for me at the end of the night, I like to wind down and watch TV. So it's just kind of, maybe it's not TV for you, maybe it's something else. If you have another sort of downtime where you unwind, that could be something you could add into the mix. The goal with that, though, is you'd probably want to keep it light. You don't want to be doing a bunch of strenuous exercise if it is kind of your decompression time. And then don't set a time limit. My favorite rule to set as someone who doesn't love going into the gym all the time is that I just have to show up. I know I'm not going to leave after 5 minutes of walking into the gym, but I'm also totally okay with leaving 20 minutes after walking into the gym. If I'm not feeling it that day and I did one circuit and I did that, that's better than not going in at all. And I think the hardest part is getting into the car, driving to that gym, going to your basement and getting on that bicycle, whatever it looks like for you. I think the hardest part is starting. And so just telling yourself, I'm just getting there and I'm not setting a time limit. So as long as you start, who cares when you stop? You'll be surprised. Usually you'll want to keep going. You'll kind of find those benefits. And then when all else fails, try pure delusion. This is just one of my personal things that I like to do. When it comes to goals, sometimes we like to, once again, those SMART goals, they can be really helpful. But if you set a specific goal and then you don't meet it, it can become more discouraging. I find it's really helpful to just tell yourself, I'm an active person. And just reminding yourself, I'm someone who gets activity in. That reassurance, you operate at a different level. So if you're someone who's like, I'm an active person, then when you have downtime, you might get a little bit more steps in, because that's what active people do. I like to kind of just tell myself something until I actually feel like I have those habits. Oftentimes we'll start by saying, I want to be an active person, and what would I do to be an active person? This, and this. And if you set those lists and you're not meeting it, you're kind of measuring yourself. And if you keep not meeting the mark, it's like, oh, well, I'm not an active person. And then it makes you not take on that identity, and then you want to stop. So I think sometimes just telling ourselves, this is what I do, even if it's not necessarily true, I do think it kind of gets our brain to keep doing it, and it starts a positive cycle as well. Any questions about specifically fitting it in time or what that looks like? Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what a walking pad is?
Yeah.
How to use foot pedals, like those two things?
Those are two things I've seen on Amazon. I'm sure you could probably get them at other places. A walking pad is really just a small treadmill, but it's really small and slower typically, at least I would hope so, because it doesn't have the same rails. You can put it like under a desk or while you're watching TV, and it's just smaller in size and a little bit easier to use. And then those pedals you can get, they literally are like this tall, so it's literally just your feet while you're sitting on the couch can pedal. They're great.
What do you think about those vibrating?
Oh,
bands?
that's a great question. I have heard mixed reviews. I've heard mostly from people I know who use them consistently. It helps a lot with digestion more than I've heard with actual exercise. I do know that some people believe it makes their exercise more difficult. So if they're already doing like a push-up, maybe they'll do it on that. Sitting on it on its own, I don't believe would be recommended as like an exercise in and of itself. But as far as so for exercise specifically, it can add a challenge, but on its own, it's not necessarily a good exercise alone.
Yeah, because I see them where people are standing on them and then using bands
Mhm.
to do
Mhm.
different things.
That's a great way to do that. That's kind of getting yourself more balanced, which is going to cause more core strength and just more strength specifically. If you don't want to spend the money on a vibration plate, you can also do that with a Bosu ball. So those half work, or even an exercise ball. There's variations where it's basically destabilizing what you're doing something on or making it a little bit more challenging, so it helps a lot with balance. And that leans into a lot of functional strength training, which is just overall just kind of trying to make your body more powerful, which is an awesome use of exercise. Okay, so I talked about HIIT training. I said it's more bang for your buck. It stands for high intensity interval training. It's short bursts of activity that vary in intensity level. They bring added strength benefits and condition your body for big bursts of energy. So you're going to be sweating, they're hard, but you can kind of choose what you do for these, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But they're typically 20, 30 minutes, but they can go for as little as 10 minutes. So that's why they're great. If you're stepping onto your yoga mat in your living room, or you're stepping into a gym, whatever it looks like, you're not going to be spending a lot of time on this one, but you're going to walk out tired. And you're going to walk out feeling like, okay, I've done something. And also, if you do it after an exercise, it can help you burn calories as well. And it can burn more calories than a slow, steady workout because you are doing a lot. It helps you lose body fat, reduces blood sugar. It can improve insulin resistance, making it an ideal option for those with type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes. And a study once found that HIIT cycling programs helped adults with knee osteoarthritis. So that would be if you were on a spin bike and you did some variation of this. So it is great because it's short, small bursts, and you basically set the pace. So when you think of something strenuous, think of jumping jacks. Think of something that would be challenging for you, burpees, or for me it's planks. That would be one that I'm sweating pretty quickly when I do those, or those are difficult. Any sort of cardio machine you could also do it on, so you can add in some resistance training, you can add in some cardio training to this. It's kind of choose your own adventure. We'll talk about ways to access other people's HIIT trainings if you'd like an example of how to use one, but I actually just did one of these the other day in the gym. I wasn't feeling it, and I think I picked 5 different exercises and I did them 4 minutes. Or I did 40 seconds and 20 seconds off. So 40 seconds of the exercise, 20 seconds off. So that's 4 minutes. And I did multiple variations of that. And it was difficult. Those are definitely hard. But it was nice because I got to go into the gym and say, okay, I can do a plank for 40 seconds. I can do modified push-ups for 40 seconds. I can do a little bit of an arm workout for 40 seconds. I can do a battle rope for 40 seconds. There's exercises that I like doing that are hard for me, and it was nice because I only had to do it for 40 seconds, which, first of all, compared to a minute, just felt a lot better because doing things for a minute sometimes is hard. And then I took those 20 seconds off to rest and then started with a different exercise. So if you walked into a gym, you could be like, what are 4 workouts that I'd like to do? I'll do 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off, and you just have a timer going while you do those. Any questions about those ones specifically? Alrighty, so tools that you can use. There's a lot of different things, thanks to technology, to be helpful. It's funny because I didn't even include the walking pad on this, and I didn't include those cycles, but that's also an option on Amazon. A pedometer. Our phones do keep track of our steps, but some of us don't have our phones on us all the time, and we can miss out on all those steps. Like I mentioned, if you are someone who likes to get your steps in, counting them is a great way to start because you can see how quickly it adds up. That's why I think it's kind of like a gateway into exercise if you're not one who currently does. I was going through a period myself where I wasn't exercising a whole lot, and once I started wearing an Apple Watch, oh my gosh, you just realize if I just get 10 minutes of steps in right now, it's going to do such a world of difference. And then it starts wiring your brain to look for it because at the end of the day, you're working towards a big number. And it was just a lot easier to add into my everyday regimen. It wasn't something where I had to walk into the gym to get it. 10,000 steps, though, sometimes I do have to be pretty intentional about like a 30-minute walk or something like that. But still, there's studies are showing these days 7,000 steps is a good recommendation. So even lessening that is totally fine, whatever works for you.
Do you still wear an Apple Watch?
Yeah, Yeah, and it's funny, I went on a walk this morning without it, and it has wired my brain now. I'm like, does this even count? My watch didn't count it. So that happens too. You feel like you didn't exercise if you don't have it on. There are smartphone apps for exercise too. So even before I had the Apple Watch, my iPhone had a health app. It naturally was counting my steps. However, I didn't usually have it on me all the time, so I was getting like 2,000 steps, and I think once I put a watch on, I realized I was getting quite a bit more than that. If you have an Android, there's also, I believe, a health store they have as well. I'd be happy to look it up, but you can use that as well. But if you do want to spend a little bit more, that's where the Fitbit, the Oura Ring, the Apple Watch, the Whoop all come into play. Those are options too. Those will...
I have to admit, I have an Apple Watch. It's still in the box.
Yeah.
Yep.
They are quite pricey. I do know that, but I have heard very effective. I'm pretty jealous of people who have them. I think they're cool. They do a lot more where they track your sleep a lot better, I've heard, than the watch. I've had people compare the two. They give you a readiness score, and it can tell. Like, I have friends where they'll drink a glass of wine, and the next day it'll be like, your readiness for the day is a little bit lower. It can tell the inflammation, so it can see stuff like that, which even hearing that from someone, I was like, oh, well, I don't have one on, but I would know my readiness score would be lower if I've had a glass of wine, so I want to be mindful of that. So they all monitor different things, but if at the very baseline, that's where I have this watch on, but if I'm going to be so real, I mostly just use it for my step counting, and that's where you can get a pedometer on Amazon for about $15. So that's always a great starting point. You can clip it on to whatever you're wearing that day and just get your steps that way. YouTube videos. So this is where I would really recommend going, is onto YouTube. If you are looking, specifically we talked about HIIT. So if you would like to find a good HIIT workout, you can type that in. It's spelt with 2 I's, high intensity interval training. And that's one option. You can find that. I've done Zumba classes on YouTube. It's been great. I love to do a 10-minute ab workout. You can look up Pilates. There's a lot of different exercises. Yoga is a good one. All different things that you can do. And you can plug in beginner, and it will give you initial workouts as well. And then fitness classes. This is a great time of year to be doing this presentation. For one, I feel like because a lot of us are maybe going, and it's like I couldn't imagine adding exercise in on my plate as well. But in addition to that, a lot of parks right now are doing free yoga classes, exercise classes, whatever parks are nearby. If you go to their website, sometimes they'll have that on their calendars. I know Summit Park does a lot in Blue Ash. There's a lot around, there's a lot of yoga classes too. I know Lululemon, the store, was doing an initiative with a lot of local parks to set up yoga classes. So it's kind of becoming a big thing now where you can either purchase one, like a $10 drop-in fee at a specific one, or a lot of the ones at parks are typically free. So that's also a great way to get started with something. And then if you're a member here at the sports club, obviously you have access to lots of classes. And if you found out about us any other way, then I can probably get you in touch with some other platforms through TriHealth. But any questions about other tools or different ways to get active? Alrighty, well, that's all I have for you. Short and sweet, because we're in a time crunch. Any questions overall, though, before we go?
I guess one question I might have is, if we were trying to maybe look at doing something that would help like full body, do you recommend like a personal trainer, or is that something you can find online? Is it a little bit of either?
Yeah. Through the club, that would be one way. Are you a member here or no? I'm sure that would be a great way to start. If I were trying to look for personal training, I'd probably go through whatever gym I was currently at. Some gyms even, and I'm sure they would probably do it here. I'm not a member here, and since I'm with TriHealth, it's a little difficult, but I know you can do sometimes orientations where they'll walk you around from machine to machine.
Yeah.
And even if you've done, if you've been a member for a while, I feel like you could even say, hey, I would really benefit from using this again, and just see if they would do it. That's a great one. If full body, any of those assisted machines in the gym are so great because they force you kind of into the right form. You're not doing squats at a squat rack or something complicated. You're holding it. Another thing that helps a lot is mind to muscle connection. So if you see what that is kind of trying to target, if the machine will typically have it highlighted like your quads, your biceps, whatever it is, focusing, just like thinking bicep, bicep, bicep the whole time you do the exercise you can typically start to feel it a little bit more, and it's kind of like you're connecting your mind to your muscle to be able to do that as well. And then YouTube videos too, full body. Low impact would be another hot search word I would look for if I was trying to think about that. A low impact full body workout, and they'd probably be a little bit more mindful of maneuverability and mobility. And they do like yoga for mobility, yoga for flexibility, Pilates for strength training, Pilates for core. You can target specific parts of your body too if you look it up. I used to be a Peloton member too. You can search that a lot by interest or what you're trying to target too. Yeah.
And if you're doing full body, would you recommend like doing full body like every day, or can you focus on like one body part one day and then the next, or is it more beneficial to do the whole body the same?
I would
day?
say it is best to do, like if you're gonna do full body, you wouldn't want to do full body every day. You'd want to do full body maybe 3 times a week. But if you were working out more days out of the week, then I would section it off by, like if you want to do upper body and then lower body. It's very important that you give yourself time to rest. If you don't give yourself rest days, then your body won't recover, and it's not really helping with what you're doing. So full day back to back to back would probably not give you a lot of rest. But if it was like if it was 3 days out of the week, then full body the whole time would be great. It just depends on how often you're working out. Yeah. Everybody had really great questions. I appreciate it. I am going to reach out to my contact at the club and see what we can do. And I don't know their system to track down emails. I know they have your email, so I'll figure that out. I manage a different sign up, which is why I was asking about the Sign Up Genius. If not, though, this is recorded, so this will end up on the club's YouTube as well. And I believe the slides are in the video as well. Yes, very meta. I'm looking at the camera.
Sign-up sheet if you want us to put our email.
Yeah, we could do that too. Get it from that, and I'll send it to you. Yeah, yeah, great idea. Let me.
So I have a question for you. It's not related to this, but